Our next presentation is Miss Maggie Braun, virtually about open and inclusive decision-making processes for sustainable development programs in Pickering. Ms. Braun, you have 5 minutes.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can now. Your 5 minutes begins now.
Good evening, Mayor and Council of Pickering. My name is Maggie Braun with a background in ecosystem management and community advocacy across Canada. I'm here to emphasize the importance of diverse and dissenting views and healthy debate on issues impacting our daily lives. Many are here tonight and watching across Canada in support of Councilor Robinson. She has bravely promoted open discussion on important international programs and faced undue criticism for advocating transparency and dialogue. This treatment highlights a troubling trend where local voices are marginalized in favor of broader top-down mandates. These programs are shaping the future of our communities and are voluntarily adopted at the local level. In a healthy democracy, each action item aligned with international programs requires meaningful public feedback before the council should determine the public's will and then direct municipal staff to execute the action items. Canada's local municipal councils are the true guardians of our nation. It is your honor and privilege to protect your community from undue international influence and lobbyist groups. Canada is a developed nation and needs no direction from unelected organizations like the United Nations or any others on how to run our towns, our cities, schools, businesses, or how to manage our land. For example, the city of Pickering, like many other cities across Canada, faces mounting pressures from international agendas and policies such as sustainable development and net zero by 2050 programs. These programs can often overlook the unique needs of our local communities. Pickering has implemented numerous climate-focused programs. The Region of Durham Community Energy Plan, the Sustainable Pickering Program, the Partners for Climate Protection Program, the Active Transportation Program, the Community Climate Adaptation Plan, and the United Smart Cities, to name just a few. Based on my rough calculations, Pickering allocates significantly more funding towards climate-focused and sustainable development programs compared to addressing the nationwide urban crisis, such as poverty, homelessness, mental health, food assistance, community gardens, drug addiction, and rehab centers. This morning, my rough calculation showed about $4.5 million are allocated from the City of Pickering's budget to climate-focused programs, compared to only $1.2 million for the urban issues I've mentioned, a significant disparity seen all across Canada. Looking down on our beautiful country, as I flew to Victoria, BC this morning, I saw what the statistics confirmed. Canada is 80% uninhabited, with 0.5% of the world's total population. We are a natural carbon sink. Net zero goals to limit the global temperature increase to below 2 degrees Celsius are impossible, and that is known by every geologist, as every interglacial period has been 1 to 2 degrees warmer than today. I recommend that the Council diversify your sources for climate facts, as you are responsible for making significant taxpayer-funded investments. I encourage you also to tune in to the City of Thorold Council meeting tomorrow. They will be engaging in meaningful questions and debate about the Partners for Climate Protection Program, a model of examination all Canadian municipalities should follow. I recommend that the Pickering Council direct staff to conduct a comprehensive review of all programs and partnerships aimed to achieve international goals versus those that are locally founded and which aim to address the immediate community needs. I would be honored to assist in that process. Lastly, I hope your council will embrace the spirit of discussion and healthy debate. This ensures an environment where every councillor and citizen can freely express their concerns and ideas without fear of retribution. I'm happy to assist in this endeavor and welcome any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Braun. 5 minutes and 1 second. Congratulations. Questions of the delegate? Being none, thank you for your presentation. Mr. Menzie, is this young lady beside you with you? Yes. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to make sure our rules are being followed, and I've already given you permission, so that's fine. Our next delegate is Patricia Conlin, Port Perry resident, in regards to the report on equity, diversity, and inclusion strategy. Patricia, welcome. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the time. Thank you for the time to present on DI policies. First, I want to say, as an active and concerned citizen in Durham Region, I speak out on this topic out of love for all residents, irregardless of external factors, including skin color, religious choices, or their choices for partners. I'm also someone who's lived abroad extensively. I speak a number of languages, and I've owned and run a recruitment firm for over 30 years where I've had the opportunity to meet many incredible people from all over the world whom I've helped in many different ways. I say, as a Canadian, we're fortunate to have a primarily peaceful, safe, and tolerant country. Martin Luther King stated beautifully, "I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they'll not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character." He speaks to merit. Martin Luther King fought for a world where his fellow man had an equal opportunity based on merit and were treated with respect regardless of the color of their skin. However, current DI policies do not achieve this goal. They achieve reverse discrimination and inequity more times than not. If you research the roots of diversity, equity, and inclusion, you'll see it comes from Marxist ideology, which was used as a tool to implement increasingly totalitarian policies in communist countries. The result was increased censorship, control, and poverty for everyone, along with massive corruption. Although equity of opportunity is critical for all of us, no government official can or should work to guarantee equity of outcome. This means decisions for hiring, events, and policies should be based on equal standards and benefits for all people in the community. But is this happening? Today, I ask the councillors and the mayor, are the current policies imposing reverse discrimination on the people of Pickering? One example that's very obvious in this inconsistency is the policy around flags. Let's review what the Government of Canada website says. Rules for flying the national flag. The national flag will be flown on its own flagpole with the sleeve nearest to the people. The canton should be placed in a position nearest the top of the flagpole of mast. Your own documents on flag raising procedures state in Section 3, flags are symbols that identify people belonging to a group. The national flag of Canada and the flags of the provinces and territories are symbols of honor and pride for all Canadians. My question is, why are they disregarding this rule and in doing so disrespecting our nation's flag by flying the Ukrainian flag and other special interest flags that do not represent the majority of Canadians and do not serve to unify the community? In the case of the Ukrainian flag, is it not proper for municipalities to stay neutral and promote peace in international conflicts instead of picking one side or the other? At this moment in the world, there are sadly More than 45 serious conflicts taking place, along with the tragedies playing out in the Middle East, in addition to the Ukraine and Russia conflict. Canada has historically played the respected role of peacekeeper. Is it not better to respect all life and encourage peace instead of unfairly picking one side or the other? How do former residents of Russia who live in Pickering feel? How about people from the Middle East countries who are experiencing these terrible conflicts like the one in Gaza and Israel? Who dictates which side to pick? Will the council decide to fly a Palestinian flag next or an Israeli one? Is it not better for the council to respect all people and all residents by sticking with our Canadian flag, which will unify the community? People in Canada are also very tolerant and kind while respecting individual rights and freedoms within the LGBTQ community, and I have friends in that community. Many parents do not want their children exposed to nudity in parades or by drag queens. This is not hate speech, but rather a normal parental instinct to protect their children. Recently, Councilor Lisa Robinson was penalized for bringing motions regarding non-government flags, washroom inclusivity, and age restrictions at drag queen events to protect children. These were justified based on her discussions with the majority of the community. She was punished for this. Is that right? Is that equitable and inclusive?
Patricia, your 5 minutes is up. So you're going to have to wrap up.
Okay. My recommendations that could help resolve this include reviewing and revising council procedures, implementing clear procedures to prevent discrimination and bullying, and allow for diversity of thought and fairness and respectful treatment of all. Promote neutrality in governments at the council. This is critical, especially with flags, and I think that would go a long way to unifying the community and having you stand for peace in Canada. And foster inclusivity, allow for everyone to be represented equally in their discussions at the council. Thank you.
Thank you for your delegation. Patricia, you've also signed up as 7.9. Which is in regards to bylaw 8110, the procedural bylaw. So your 5 minutes starts now.
Thank you. I speak on behalf of many Durham residents on the decline in free and open dialogue in Canada and in this municipality. The bylaw that in discussion here further erodes and is an infringement on free speech. Federally, we saw introduction of Bill C-11 and C-64, which were introduced to oppose what was called so-called disinformation and misinformation, as well as hate speech. Sounds good, right? Unfortunately, it's been proven that those who determine what is disinformation and misinformation have been fundamentally wrong. Government attempts to limit open and free speech is not only against constitutional rights of free citizens, but also causing far more harm than good. That's why it's important that council maintain respectful and open dialogue at council meetings and encourage diverse points of view, even if they disagree. Councilors are elected to represent the residents, and they need to maintain a respectful and open dialogue and listen to all concerns. Not listening to concerns and only following one path has caused unprecedented harm over the last few years. I can give several examples. At the municipal level, COVID policies were implemented years ago. The policy aim was pushed to achieve zero COVID using lockdowns and mandates. The goal was not only impossible from the start, but achieved widespread financial destruction, division, and hopelessness. In addition, it wasn't even equitable, as small and medium-sized businesses, particularly retailers, were unfairly shut down while the globalist ones stayed open. The response to COVID was implemented at a local level, and the National Citizens Inquiry, made up of thousands of professionals, released a final report recently. They concluded lockdowns caused far more harm than good. Mandates were destructive and unjustified. The experimental vaccine was neither safe nor effective, and Canadians were not given proper treatment.
Ms. Conlin,
Sure.
you are here to speak about Bylaw 8110.
Thank you.
Which is the
Yes,
procedural bylaw. It has nothing to do with COVID or lockdowns. So I ask you to get back to the topic.
No, appreciate it. I'm tying it together now. The reason I mention this as an example is that open dialogue at that time was shut down. People were forced to only follow one track. Imagine the outcome, how it could have been different if there was open and free dialogue. It's similar now, what's happening with the climate emergency. The goal in this case is net zero carbon this time. But we already see that the fruits of these policies are causing more harm, energy and food insecurity, and a lot of people are pushing back. So it's very important that council listens to alternative information about this. We saw the harm and the wrongdoing that it happened during COVID, and now the councils across Canada are doubling down with the climate agenda. And I'm asking you to listen to alternative points of view, and closing down dialogue and eliminating free speech from agendas and not including different topics is directly related to that. So hopefully I've made that point. Another concern for many people is the mass unsustainable immigration. We're experiencing a housing, healthcare, and economic crisis. So we need these. Yeah, I'll wrap it up then. I'll just stick to, so it's very important. I've given a few examples. Some of them have been received, but a lot of things are happening at a local level, which are, we can track from evidence, are causing some harm. And that's why nobody's perfect, I'm not saying, but are the councillors going to take a responsibility for making these decisions, and how can we course correct? And I think it's very important that you take this to heart for future. It's critical the council does not pass any bylaws which limit free speech and free and open dialogue. It's important to have diversity of thought and allow all to speak freely for equity purposes, and to ensure that the right paths are followed. So instead of listening to dissenting voices and instead of disrespecting dissenting voices, listening to them will help this council achieve harmony, equity, and inclusion, and probably lead for better outcomes, definitely lead for better outcomes for the council. I will email information, as I suggested, on some of these 3 examples of the things that have been adopted that have harmed not just this community, but others, and the evidence for consideration so that future decisions will be made that will improve the future of these people. Thank you.
Thank you. 5 minutes and 3 seconds. Thank you for being respectful of our time.
No problem.
I appreciate it. Any questions of the delegate? Being none. Next delegate has withdrawn one of her topics. I think I said one of her. I'm not sure if the next one's 711, Terry Peters, Pickering residents, council transparency and accountability.
Yeah, it is Terry with a Y.
Yes, my apologies.
No problem.
Terry, you have 5 minutes. I know you're on the agenda. No, you're not. You taken off. My apologies.
My topic, council transparency and accountability. I'm going to give a timeline on why we're here today and address the fact that is leading into censorship. This information is compiled from many people, including groups in Pickering and the Durham region, of which no one is funded by the mayor. May 2023, at the Durham District School Board meeting, Councilor Robinson attended the meeting because of the growing concern of the students and parents in Pickering in the Durham region. The issue was the implementation of the Rockefeller School curriculum. September 20th, the 1 million March for Children gave a rise to the widespread growing and parental rights movement. Parents united at the DDSB headquarters in Whitby. Parents and students had had enough of the gender ideology and the overt sexualization material in our schools. The message was, leave our kids alone. An estimated 1,000 plus people were in attendance, and Councilor Robinson spoke in support. 2 other council members were also in attendance. I'll get back to that later. One would ask, what type of society are we when we can't stand up for our children? In a 2015 Government of Canada Missing Children's Report, an estimated 45,000 plus children are reported missing every year. That's an average of 124 missing per day. Where is the Amber Alert? We feel the primary role of the government is to protect our children. From Whitby, hundreds of people came back to the Pickering City Hall, where many more speakers spoke in support of the movement. At this time, the mayor and the 5 councilors had the opportunity to address the crowd in support of the children. No one stood forward. After my delegation, we would appreciate it if the mayor and the 5 councilors would take time to explain why on that day they did not stand lockstep with the parents and the children. It appeared to us that the 2 council members that were seen in Whitby were possibly there just to spy and report on their fellow council member. This was clearly shown in the integrity report, the report that led to the 90-day suspension of Councilor Robinson. What was the crime? November 2023 to the year end. No oath of office was supplied, no oath of office, or no oath to the people. February 2024 till present. Councilor Robinson wrote an op-ed indicating that every race, ethnic group, culture, et cetera, should be equally included in all history taught in schools, not only history for special groups. Perhaps Councilor Robinson wasn't following what we the people know as Agenda 2030. As I previously pointed out in a prior delegation, that not one of the 18 delegates who came forward against the Robinson op-ed, including the people funded by the mayor, came out against one of the words, phrases, paragraphs, sentences that offended, upset, or triggered them. It appeared to us that the goal of the 18 delegates was to get Councilor Robinson put forward and a vote for council to get Councilor Robinson to go in front of the Ontario Human Rights Commission. And that was for the crime of being inclusive. It appears that Pickering's over the target. This is 1984. If you can censor Pickering, then this will lead to all other municipalities and school boards being censored. Pickering is the test. Now, in closing, there's a video going around that's quite disturbing. It involves Mayor Ash, Janice Frampton, and Fahad Rehan. Mayor Ash was a regional councillor and had acted as a deputy mayor and voted to lock us down for 2 years during COVID, suspending our rights and freedoms. And then he went out of country on vacation and later even admitted it. Now, a news flash, CTV News from December 2020, Rod Phillips resigns as Ontario Finance Minister following a secret pandemic getaway. Please stand up if you believe Mayor Ash should resign.
Order. Thank you. Our next delegate is Ryan Linkletter, Pickering resident, bylaw 811024. Ryan, welcome back. You have 2 delegations tonight. The first one is on 8111, which is the procedural bylaw change. Your 5 minutes starts now.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ryan Linkletter. I'm a Pickering resident. I came here to speak, and I just want to tell the truth to everyone here. When I signed up for this delegation, I had to fill out these forms here that asked me, please describe in detail the topic you wish to speak on and a short description of the reasons you are appearing as a delegate. I personally felt there was like an interrogation for me to describe why I wanted to appear here. The first thing I wanted to speak about was amendments to the procedure of bylaw 801923 to express my views. That's the entire procedure of bylaw. Then when I looked at the meeting agenda, it was changed to just 13.3. But I will begin to speak about 13.3. I don't agree that we should be restricting people's ability to delegate based on where they live. I personally agree that, I believe that we should be encouraging everyone to speak as a delegate, regardless of where they're from, and not restricted based on where they live. Furthermore, I just want to talk about how this came about. And forgive me, I'm just making this up as I go. There was a notice of motion that was brought forward by Councilor Pickles, I believe. And this notice of motion, when it was being voted upon, it was not available to the public. So I was in the gallery and it was not available for me to kind of read along. And I don't believe the members of the public had the opportunity to kind of read it ahead of time and understand what the implications were, and then speak with their council members so that a more informed decision could be made. And then it passed in a quick vote. I don't know what the vote number was, but 6-1 or something like that. I don't know. So I just recommend that we don't continue on this path of introducing more and more bylaws to increase restrictions on members of the public to participate. That will be the end of my first delegation.
Thank you, Ryan. If there's no discussions or questions on that, we'll move to 7.13, which is also a delegate from Ryan Linkletter from Pickering residents in regards to the topic, the conduct of council. Your 5 minutes starts now.
So once again, for this delegation, I initially wanted to speak about staff consultant reports and the conduct of staff in council. After some negotiations, I once again felt that I was being interrogated to provide information on what I wanted to speak to, and I didn't agree with that. However, I had to kind of like cross off everything, and now I'm here stuck with conduct of council only. It's my opinion that I'm just feeling a lot of restrictions on what I can speak about and what I can't speak about, and it just makes it quite difficult for myself to express myself. There's the procedure of bylaws. It's pretty thick. Like there's a lot of restrictions and there's been a lot of changes recently. However, I'll just continue with what I'm supposed to talk about, which is conduct of council. And in particular, there's just one example I just really wanted to focus on. There's so many of them. It's like, where do I even begin? But this one was, it was in a meeting with in my opinion, the biased city paid integrity commissioner. Principles, integrity, in my opinion, has no principles and no integrity. And the meeting, and forgive me, I'm just paraphrasing here, but Mr. Mayor, you made a comment, something along the lines of, to Councilor Lisa Robinson, I'm going to keep you on a short leash here. That type of conduct I find quite disturbing and not appropriate in a public forum. I found it kind of demeaning that you would refer to Councilor Lisa Robinson as an animal that you could control.
Well, let's be clear. That's not what keeping a person on a short leash means. It's in regards to, order. If you want to speak, you can sign up as a delegate. So I interrupted you. Please continue with your discussion.
Yeah. Thank you for providing your opinion, Mr. Mayor. However,
that's one of the great privileges I get to be when I put my name forward and get elected. I get to come up here and represent the people and share my opinion. So please continue.
You've also called delegates nutcases. Like, I find that quite disturbing as well, Mr. Mayor. I don't think that's conducive of, a safe environment where people can feel free to appear here and speak. What do you think about me? Do you talk behind people's backs up there? I find that quite disrespectful, sir. It's not something that I think is something that we should expect from our mayor. That's all I really had to say. I really did want to speak about staff and consultant reports and the conduct of staff and council. Because I was not allowed to speak about that, now I'm just up here with nothing really prepared, and I'm just trying to express myself and ride the fine line of all of these different procedural bylaws that are regulating what I'm allowed to and not allowed to speak to. I find it very authoritative. I do believe that the conduct of council is similar to like a little mini dictatorship here. Mr. Mayor, respectfully.
That's not respectful.
That's my
I think your time's up now, sir. Thank you. Order. You're warned once. You're warned once. The next time you'll be asked to leave. Okay? You understand it? Do you understand what I just said to you? Do you understand what I just said to you? Do you understand what I said to you? I do.
Mr. Mayor, do we need to take a recess?
This is
Next
what I'm
time
talking
you'll be-
about. Mr. Mayor, this is what I'm speaking of. This type of conduct.
Your delegation's over. Thank you. Our next delegate is John.
I'd like a point of personal privilege, please, Mr. Mayor.
Your point, Councillor?
My point is to Mr. Linkletter's point about you saying that you want to keep me on a short leash.
That's not a.
I too also feel that
Thank you. Our next delegation.
This is what I'm talking about, Mr. Mayor.
You're finished.
I have a point of personal privilege, please. That is my point.
I've ruled on it.
Personal privilege.
There's no point of personal
You're
privilege.
treating me like an animal, and now you're talking to me
Thank
like
you.
you do
Thank
your.
you.
I am
you.
not your
Thank
wife,
you.
Mr. Mayor. I do not deserve to be spoken to as such. May I please have my point of personal privilege?
You've given it and I've ruled. We're moving on, Councillor. We're going to take a 5-minute recess. Thank you. With the conduct of delegations, delegates 08.06 delegations shall not A, speak disrespectfully of any person, use offensive words, speak on any other subject other than the subject for which they have received approval to address, disobey the decision of the chair, or debate with other delegates. So moving forward, if you are asked to come to order and you don't come to order, or you break the rules in regards to being disrespectful or using offensive words, you'll be asked to leave. So we'll move forward on 7.14. Mr. John Petejan, I hope I said that right, John, from Civis for Reform on Bylaw 811024. Welcome to our chamber, sir, and you have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and it's Petejan, close enough.
My apologies.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, thank you, councillors, for allowing me to present today. I will be referring to the corporation of the city of Pickering as the corporation. I present this deputation in my own opinion. I would like to express my concerns about the notice for procedural bylaw changes without proper transparency or taxpayers' input. Bylaw 8110/24, agenda item 13.3, a bylaw to govern the proceedings of council in any of its committees, the conduct of its members, and the calling of the meetings. This bylaw amendment further strengthens the control of the council over the citizens and the council members. The definition of a bylaw, according to the Oxford Dictionary, a rule made by a company or a society to control the actions of its members. Control the actions of its members. Amending this bylaw is not new to the corporation. These bylaw amendments are being implemented by many municipalities across Ontario. Municipalities across Ontario adhere to or follow federal, provincial, regional, non-governmental organization directives laid down by the United Nations, the World Health Organization, the World Bank, World Economic Forum, ICLEI, the International Council for Local Environmental Initiatives, the Federation of Municipalities, C40 mayors, stakeholders, private-public partnerships, of course, strong mayor powers. All this impacts taxpayers in one way or another. But where's the taxpayer's voice in all this? In amending the bylaw, the statement of principles by the Civic for Reform group is a well-written guideline for council to follow. The rights of all persons and duties of government. Every person has the right to their life, liberty, and to the property that they justly acquire. As members of a county or a free person, we have entrusted governments with a duty of protecting those rights for every person is accountable and transparent manner. The sanctity of the rights and freedoms of every person must rise above all acts of government or decision in our courts of law. No person, institute, group, company, or government may arbitrarily suspend or circumvent them under any circumstances. Should any person violate these rights, they must be held accountable. Should any agent of government fail to honor and defend those rights, they are in breach of their duty, and any harm caused by such a failure must be remedied immediately. The Constitution upon which Canada was established is founded upon principles that ensure the rights and freedoms of every person are protected, as noted in the Statement of Principles listed on our website, thegloriousrevival.org. In amending this bylaw, the conduct of council members who are elected by their constituents in a democratic vote are representing their interests. To penalize a member for acting on behalf of their constituents is wrong. Councillors who are passionate about their issues should never be punished. Members should only be removed by the constituents in a recall vote. That's democracy. Furthermore, the suspension or removal of wages to a councillor member are in direct violation of their rights. Each member has a life, has a family, has a responsibility, such as Councillor Robinson, who's a single mom, a woman, a taxpayer. No council has the right to harm, inflict damage, or hurt any other member or constituent. I would like to close out by asking council, can you say in 3 words, what is your most important responsibility? Failing that, this council has failed its constituents and democracy. I suggest you read the Statement of Principles created by the Civis for Reform Group. It's your guidelines to adhering to human rights and the duties of government. Government serves the people, not the other way around. This is what you will be judged on in your next election. Thank you, and I'll take questions.
Thank you, sir. Any questions of the delegate? No,
Did I get under 5 minutes?
Sorry?
Did I get under 5 minutes?
Yes, you did. 4:45. Very good. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, and thank you, council. Thank you, everyone.
The next delegate, 7:15, is Miss Diane Robinson, Toronto resident, and Mr. Joe Ingino, Oshawa resident and publisher of the Oshawa Durham Central newspaper. As a group, you have 10 minutes, and you're speaking about conduct at council meetings. I'll remind the delegates of the rules I just mentioned earlier about speaking disrespectful and using offensive words.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. With respect, the name is Diane. That's why there's an A on the end. I, like many others, have attended either in person or virtually on monthly counseling meetings since the start of this term. Unfortunately, it appears that these meetings have forgot or ignored the primary purpose of the council. So without prejudice, let me remind everyone. Council is made up of elected positions, consisting of a mayor and councillors, city and regional, all paid by you, the residents. The purpose of all city councils is 1, to speak for and represent the residents in the municipality. 2, to allow the residents to submit topics of their concerns and to have them discussed. 3, to consult, to deliberate, and to make decisions regarding municipal financing and services. This Pickering Council is meetings have become very unprofessional. Why? The mayor at the start of the meeting states something along the line that, quote, "We will not tolerate disrespect in the chambers." Sorry, I can't remember the exact words you used, but similar to that. I used to see that. I remember being at the meetings and hearing you say that. Today, when I'm going through the videos from past meetings, somehow that's been dropped out of the videos. I wonder why. Then during the meetings, the mayor shows nothing but disrespect for, one, the attendees, calling them nutcases, et cetera. The mayor tends to watch sports on his iPad or phone during council meetings, and I suspect he's not the only member of council constantly finding other things more important than the meeting that's in progress. 3, also the mayor keeps cutting off Councillor Robinson when she asks valid questions. Why? The mayor has stated that councillors have 4 days to review the agenda and ask staff questions, but he failed to tell the people that those 4 days included a weekend and 1 full day of meetings. Is Robinson the only councillor that reviews the 100+ pages and has questions? Is she the only one that refuses to rubber stamp staff's recommendations? We've been told that security had to be increased because of the threats over the last few months, but we're not told what threats. We don't have to know against who or names of people that have made threats, but we should be told what kind of threats are being made. We are told that there was an incident in the parking lot, but what they don't tell you, I was there when this supposed threat took place after that June 26, 24 meeting. And I do not consider someone asking for jumper cables a threat. However, I do recall walking into the chambers foyer of that meeting in the beginning, only to see a woman struggling and take a gentleman's camera phone and smash it against the floor. It seems council tends to fabricate things to suit their own agendas. Why do minutes not show that topics that were brought up but not discussed? Does council not want the residents to know that there are other topics that they should hear about? Not only is council disrespecting with the residents of Pickering, they want to suppress your input by taking away your civil rights. Why? Pickering, ask yourself, if council is not representing you who pay their salary, then who are they actually working for and why? Thank you.
That concludes your,
That concludes my first delegation.
Okay.
Thank you.
the next,
I will let Mr.
oh, Joe? This is on the same issue, conduct? Okay.
My name is Joe Ingino. I'm with Central Newspaper. I've been in the business for 40 years, and I'm probably the only municipal critic left in publishing. As such, I have seen him come, I have seen him go. I have sat through many of the battles at the city of Oshawa, which they're famous for open brawls. As of today, they made it so restrictive that in order to get in, you have to go through a series of security protocol. What I witnessed here tonight, it turned my stomach. It turned my stomach because on one side, they call for respect, for order. Yet, those that call the order have shown to have no decorum. So are we to assume as citizens, as taxpayers, that it works one way only? That's not fair. As leaders of the community, you must listen to opposition and to those that support you. If you don't, you have what you have here, and you have what we have in Oshawa. Please don't become an Oshawa. Mayor, I ask you with all due respect to apologize for your comments. I'm a linguistic individual, and short leash means short leash. So I would appreciate, in your honor and with all due respect to you, to take the leadership role and apologize for that comment because it was way out of line. Would you apologize?
Please continue with your delegation.
Well, I feel like I'm in a museum. I'm talking to statues. And this is predominant what happens in Oshawa. They call for people to come in from the general public, express your opinion on X, Y, Z. They already made their decisions on what they were going to do. They're just wasting your time. This is what's taking place here. You'll see the vote tonight. Nothing will change. They will pass restrictive measures in order to keep the average individual from having, and it's not about freedoms, it's not about rights, it's not about anything to do with democracy. It's got to do with solid leadership. And you know what's taking place in modern societies right across in all municipalities? We elect people that don't have the competency and the character to make the decisions that they should be making. So what do we get? Personal attacks against anyone that opposes you. That's wrong. As a community leader, you have an option, not an option, but you have an opportunity to represent everyone. So if someone gets out of order, instead of kicking them out, let them speak. There is frustration. That's where they get hyper. No, instead you threaten them with trespass orders. That's wrong. I don't care which way you look at it. From community leaders, and all the councils should also employ the same principle. Encourage people to come up and speak, even if it's against you, because you can only learn from critics. From those that support you, you always got to watch for that knife in your back. So, my good friend, again, I ask you from one human being to another to do what's honorable and apologize to your fellow councilor. It's the only right thing to do. And I think we all agree here from a human point of view. How am I doing in my 5 minutes?
You have a minute or 18, so you have a minute and 40 seconds, Joe.
See, I'm efficient also.
Yes, that's right.
And I'm not trying to criticize you. Don't get me wrong. I'm just trying to help you be a better human being. I know how hard it is to run a corporation. And for someone that's never run one, to be elected to run one, you're dependent on staff. Staff, they're doing their job. They're there to support your leadership, and it's working the other way around. Council doesn't know what they're doing. They go to staff. Staff makes recommendations, and that's the law. And who pays for it? Every taxpayer. Why do you think taxes go up every year? Quality of life is getting better? Go ask the person sleeping on the street. No, it's not. Then why are taxes going up? They're going up for one reason. We elect people that don't have the qualifications to make the decisions that they need to make. I always joke, when there's not a dentist, you don't hire a gynecologist to take your molars out. Point of entries might be the same or different, but it's very, very painful. And that's what we see here. We see councils that instead of worrying about learning the job, being human, approach individuals from a human perspective is, no, you're out of order. You're out of here. In what planet is that correct? Where is that right? And it's not human rights, it's being decent. But what happens is when you're in power and you panic, it's easy to hit the eject button, right? Because you don't know what to do. I suggest that council as a whole should take some human relation courses, how to deal with the general public, how to approach properly, instead of just, you're out of line, get out.
Joe,
What's it going to do? It's just going to bring more hostility.
Your 10 minutes is up, but I know.
10 minutes.
Sorry, the 10 minutes.
5
combined.
minutes.
10 minutes combined.
Well, I thought you were
yourself-
going to ask me. I thought you were going to say something about 5 minutes is not 5 minutes. It's 4:59.
No. Diana Robinson and yourself are scheduled for another
Yes, I understand.
delegation, which is on Bylaw 8110. So I'll begin that 10 minutes now.
You want to do it now, or do you want me to do it? Okay, again, against this bylaw. I mean, just because you're in power, it doesn't mean you can go out making all kinds of bylaws and everybody else has to follow them. The fact that we're all here saying, hey, it's a bad idea. Guess what, folks? It's a bad idea. But wait till the end of this night when they have to vote. It's going to be, everybody's going to, if I'm, God, I hope I'm wrong. But again, I feel like I'm talking to statues, and then the vote's going to be 5-1. And that's wrong. Now is the time to do something, folks. Remember, as an elected official, you have a short window. And if you don't perform, you might not come back next term. And now it's more important than ever. I know that some of you have been in office for a while, and I respect that, because those that that have been in office, you know, they're very well reserved. But by the same token, the newcomers, now is the time to change, make positive change. And as for the actual bylaw, it's not about democracy, human rights, civil rights. This is about basic human decency, transparency, and good old-fashioned leadership. If I was in your shoes, I would not vote for this to go through because you are closing the door on yourself in the future. And that's something that none of us can afford. Now, back again to the policy that you write. Remember, when you write policy or you consider policy, who does it truly benefit? And if you are in the front of that line, then you're voting for the wrong reason. You should always be in the back of the line to your constituents, because remember who put you there. You know, you didn't get that. Well, I shouldn't even have some politics. What am I talking about? You're put there by constituents that believed in you, that you could lead them in their best interest. And I don't think that by passing this, you're thinking of the common folk first. You're thinking of yourself, of how to prevent incidents like this. And it's wrong. I mean, no matter how you look at it. The other thing too, for the mayors, you know, just when you issue a trespass order, there has to be an element of threat to the person or threat to the property. You can't just give someone a trespass for speaking their mind. You can ask them to leave. They have to be removed, but that's a whole different law. So again, since our mayor likes to, you know, I would really look at what you're doing. I would really look at your whole leadership role in the community and really struck down this proposed change to the bylaw and keep the doors open for everybody across Durham region. It's most essential and most important. There's no ifs or buts about it. My heart, when I was listening to other, others plea and others attempt to denounce, this is not about denouncing. This is not about putting blame. This is about pointing out the importance of human decency as community leaders, and you cannot be arrogant about it. You cannot not return phone calls, as I've been trying to get a hold of our beloved mayor for 3 weeks. Professionalism, courtesy would tell you, hey, I'll take 5 minutes of my time, I'll return phone calls. Basic human decency. So if we overturn our power, if we give up our rights by allowing them to do this, you'll never get through. Try calling the city of Oshawa, see who you get through to. Nobody. So again, I hope that for those sitting up there, you take it to heart and you do what's right for your constituents. And by the looks of many, it's like I might as well be talking to the TV screen. You know, you have to listen to people. You cannot think you know it all, because out of life, the only way to growth and prosperity individually or as a business is by learning from criticisms, listening to the people, how they talk about you, talk about what you're doing in the progress. What I witness here is shameful, and really, I should not be speaking in regards to changing policy because I'm a media person and we are not to change policy or influence, but I'm coming today as a citizen of Durham. And I come as a citizen with experience that I have seen similar scenarios play out and get a lot worse.
Joe, 5 minutes is up if you want to share your time with Ms. Robinson.
No, that's fine. I'll let her speak. I hope that what I've said has sunk in and we see some positive change.
Thank you. You have 4 minutes and 30 seconds left, Diana.
Thank you, sir. Okay, I've just jotted down a couple of notes here, not an awful lot. And I'm going to be speaking about the bylaw that you are about to pass, or hopefully not pass. I listened to the last council meeting and I heard Councillor Pickles. and his reasons that this bylaw was a must and must be changed. Apparently, it took too much time to sit in these meetings. I mean, after all, he had to sit in.
Point of order, I don't think I said that, Mr. Mayor.
I don't think he said it was a question of, he did.
He inferred.
I don't think that's the case, but please continue with your delegation.
If I remember right, he inferred that it took up too much time and the meetings went too long and they couldn't get down to city business.
I think that's an accurate portrayal and one that's belief that's shared by most on this council.
Among other things shared by most on this council.
Yep.
If I look at your agendas, your calendars, every last Monday of the month, you have to sit into 3 meetings. A special meeting, an in-camera meeting, followed by a councilor meeting. The meetings, the first meeting takes what, from 2 to 5 o'clock, 5:30. The second meeting is from 6:30 to 7 o'clock. And the third meeting is supposed to be from 7 to 9 p.m. However, during that time period, it seems to always go a lot longer because your residents, your people want to talk about things. They want to bring up issues that concern them. It seems you don't want to hear those issues. You want to restrict your meetings to that short 2 hours that you've allotted for it. They do run longer, and occasionally there have been a couple of that have had to be run over to another night. You have one other meeting that I know during the month that you have to attend to, and I believe that is the planning and development meeting. The rest of the meetings that are held during the month are meetings that committees that you have appointed look after. Other than that, you don't have a 9-to-5 job. You don't have to sit in here every day like most residents have a 9-to-5 job that they have to go to. They come here because they have concerns about their city and what's happening in it. They want to bring things to the attention. Ms. Robinson was asked to bring 3 different motions in order to discuss those things that the citizens wanted to discuss. Not necessarily pass or anything else, just to have the opportunity to talk about them. She couldn't get a seconder because to bring it up to have something to talk about, somebody has to second that the motion can be brought up. Not one of you people in there were concerned. Not one of you seem to care what's happening with the children. And that's what the people want to look after is the children. They're their children, not your children. You should be concerned about what's happening with them. During that meeting, so you have just a few meetings and maybe once a month you have to have a meeting. It runs to midnight. Yeah, but the citizens are here and they sit here for that meeting, most of it. Some of us stay to that meeting. A few have to get home because again, they've got to get up for 9 o'clock in the morning. You don't. When I look at this, it amazes me the way you treat your citizens, the way you talk to them. Like the smiles and laughs that are going on right now while I'm talking.
Well, Ms. Robinson, your 10 minutes is up. And to suggest that councillors don't have other responsibilities and don't have responsibilities each and every day seems willfully ignorant of what happens in our life. So I appreciate you coming today, but your 10 minutes is up. Any questions of the delegate?
Can I move to give the delegate another 2 minutes to speak?
Is there a seconder? No, there's no seconder. Thank you. Your delegation's over. Next delegate is 717, Jeffrey Armitage and Kristen Kelly, a Oakwood resident, and